Hey everyone, welcome to this week of Fantasy Football, Week 2. I'm pretty excited to get back into it. Have some comments before we get into the game, a little bit about how we can't seem to start the right players, and then our usual, like, best of the week, worst of the week, stud dud is what I call them. So, let's get into our bench, okay? And here, I noticed in my game, but in almost every game, there were like 20 plus point scores on the bench. I guess that means we drafted well, but it also means we don't know who to play. Here are a list of people who had 20 plus points that didn't provide anything for our teams this week. Chris Thompson, Austin Eckler, Patrick Mahomes, James Conner, Randall Cobb, Kenny Stills, Manuel Sanders, and Adrian Peterson. I got one more, but I'm going to hold on to it. Maybe you guys should think about putting them in. So change it up. Put them in this week. I mean, some of those guys were 35 plus points. So roll with them. Your draft wasn't as good in the early rounds. Play your later round guys. And then I want to give the daily Drew Wagner update on this team QB. You should check out his poll if you haven't done it. I'm interested to know who thinks it was excellent. I don't know what the league will never be the same means. Maybe we live in fear of that happening again. And the other votes seem to think it was a bad idea. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens. I already capitalized on it, I think, by trading an injured and suspended Julian Edelman for a injured Carson Wentz. So gives me insurance. I think it's a win for both of us. Didn't know if any of the rest of you are out there putting out trades, seeing what would happen. But I am interested to know you have all these QBs. Most of them sucked last week. And then Alex Smith was almost your best quarterback. And you would think, looking at your team, he would be the worst. So interested to see how this all plays out. All right, let's get into our studs and the duds this week, and you're going to be interested to know that it actually involves our bench once again. These were the runners-up for, like, the people in play, I should say, for the dud. Aaron, Ben Black, John Davis, Tyler. You guys all are runner-up for duds of the week because each of you barely outscored or didn't outscore Ben Baker's bench. His bench had 91 points. Ridiculous. Good thing you weren't playing his bench this week. It would have been embarrassing. But I give my dud to John Davis. Lowest score. Would have lost to Ben Baker's bench. That's embarrassing. Dud of the week. My studs of the week very interestingly match my two predictions for the best two teams, which was Ben Baker and Nick. And they both put up the two highest scores. And Ben, even though you had 91 points in your bench, you didn't even need it, but I'm still going to give my stud to Nick. I mean, high score, that's not always the reason, but 185 points, 3 guys over 30. It was a ridiculous showing. It had to be one fun Sunday of football for you. All right, and that also brings me, should I be the stud of the week since I predicted those two teams to dominate? We'll hold off. I'm sure I'll get that award soon enough. All right, let's get into our picks for this week. Our very first game is, again, just on the fly, is Daddy-O Black versus Ben Black. And I'm going to go ahead, and I like that Ryan Fitzpatrick made the list this week, Ben. That's exciting. But I'm not a believer. But I'm going to go ahead and roll Daddy-O because I do like Chris Thompson, and he's put him in. I think Chris Cousins could have a really good year. He's going to team up with Thielen a lot, and Kamara is dominating. So I think what Ben gets out of Gurley, Jim will get out of Kamara, and it'll be a wash there. So sorry, Ben, you lose. All right, next goes to Ben Baker versus Andy Black. So Andy, let's see if you can dethrone him. I don't know if Ben Roethlisberger's playing at home or not. You would hope so. Yes, he is. So he probably will do better, so that's good for you. Collins was not as impressive as I thought he would be. I was a little bit disappointed in him, and Crow will be interesting for you. But I am going to go ahead and go with Ben Baker, not only because I really like his team, but he now has Connor in his lineup, and I still think that Julio, Beckham, Hilton trio is really good. So I think he's going to win, but he's not going to score as high this week as he did last week, would be my ultimate prediction there. Next is Heiser versus John Davis. And both teams that need a win. And John, you didn't get much from Bernard on Thursday night. And I don't know where Hunt was. That was interesting to me. So I'm actually down on your team. I'm in on Heiser winning this one. A little bit of an upset, I think. But I think Tyrod will get him points. I'm not saying he's going to play well. Gronk seems to be wide open. And Cook seems to be very available over there. This is my pick. I'm probably going to be upset with. But I'm going to go ahead and roll with you for this one. All right, next is my game, Chris versus myself. And I'm going to go ahead and give myself the nod, and mainly it's because the only player I was really concerned about on your team was Mixon, and then he didn't do that much. I think Diggs could have a good game. Everyone else I feel like is really up in the air, and I'm including Matt Ryan in that. But I like what I'm going to get. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to get another good game out of Rivers against Buffalo. Made the mistake of not starting Sanders last week, and I will. And I think Johnson and McCaffrey both will actually play well when neither of them played well last week. All right, next game is Tyler versus Nick. And you know I like Nick's team, and until he proves me otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and roll with Nick, and here's the reason why. He has Saquon Barkley, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill. I think all of them are going to do great. Notice I didn't say Drew Brees. I'm really interested to see him go against the Browns defense. They seem to handle Roethlisberger well, and I think they could cause some disruption there with Drew Brees. But Tyler, I do think that you'll get a better game out of Brown being home. I think it'll be closer than originally thought, but going with Nick. Our last game of the week is Team QB, QB Drew versus Aaron. And in this one, you already had a pretty good showing, a pretty dominant showing from A.J. Green, at least in the touchdown category. I do think Brady will play not as well as normal, but he'll still play well enough. And I think you'll get good scores out of your guy. And then on the other side, I like that you put Adrian Peterson in. I'm not a believer that he's going to do it every single week. And you got some questionable stuff there with two guys that are important, Adams and Fournette. So I'm not sure we're going to get out of them. So I'm going to go ahead and give my roll with Drew on this one. So there are my predictions for this week. Let me hear your comments if you have any. Other than that, go Browns.